Hi, everybody. My name is Rick Fike. I'm with the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. I'm the producer of local programming, and today we have a special treat for you. In light of the COVID-19 outbreak and virus, obviously lots changed, and life has changed. I'm actually here at my home doing this interview, and with me today I have a very, very special guest, and I want to bring him in. This is State Representative Ryan Warner. Ryan, thank you so much for taking some time to be with us today.
Hey guys, Rick, I definitely appreciate this. It's a great opportunity. I'm here in Perryopolis. Also, I'm recording from my cell phone, so it's a different world right now, the way that we're doing interviews. But I'm glad that we're still able to do it amongst this crisis.
Absolutely, yeah. And bear with us. That being said, on the quality, we're both on a broadband internet connection and webcams or cell phones. So we're kind of going with the flow here. But really, what we wanted to do, I had approached Representative Warner just about reaching out to you, the viewers, and just talking a little bit about what we've been going through, perhaps what we can expect to see, and maybe some things that are happening. Representative Warner, you just got back actually from Harrisburg, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And Rick, it was actually a historic session, as it was the first time in the history of the House they actually had a quote unquote telesession where members actually had the option to vote from their homes or from their home offices if they chose to do so. I'm a member of the Appropriations Committee. It was highly suggested that members of leadership and members of appropriations still attend in person. So I did travel to Harrisburg. In doing so, while in session, they've tried to follow as many CDC protocols as possible to upkeep cleanliness within the House itself. But it was kind of historic in that fact that there were about a third of the members were actually there. There many members took advantage of the televoting. So it was definitely a different dynamic. But in doing so, we were still able to pass some pretty important legislation. We worked specifically on unemployment benefits for workers. We were able to waive the 1 week waiting period. We were able to do some things to expedite the system. I know personally discussions with many other people there that we're trying to work on some type of compensation for unemployment compensation for small business owners, right? So I don't think a lot of people realize that small business owners, they pay in the unemployment compensation, but they aren't able to collect it. And at this time when they're forced to close, we're desperately trying to find a way for the small business owners to be able to collect something. In the meantime, they are able to apply for SBA loans through the government. We have a working capital loan program too, and I'm very hopeful that there is some help and relief for those small business owners within the federal government in their package that the House should be passing today.
Yeah, it's very important. And one thing I wanted to ask you, you said you're part of the Appropriations Committee, correct?
Correct.
What does that mean?
So the Appropriations Committee votes on every piece of legislation that goes through the House and Senate. We're also dealt with creating the state's budget. That is the committee where the budget's created. And like I said, every piece of legislation, unlike other committees, every piece of legislation will go through the Appropriations Committee. We vote on the fiscal aspect of every single piece of legislation that is presented and ran on the House floor.
I got it. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting to see that, social distancing, this phrase we've come to learn and know very quickly over the last week or two, that's being practiced, at the state level as well in Harrisburg and really at the national level and worldwide even. And so it's good to know that, even with the televoting and things like that, that your well-being and your health as a representative of the state is being taken very seriously as well. It's very good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, not just it's a tough dynamic because the government can't shut down at a time like this. But, there's also 203 members of the House of Representatives, right? So you're kind of breaking CDC protocol by meeting and you're going against all the other recommendations But at the same time, the government can't shut down. So last week, I was really happy that we were able to pass the Telecommuting Act. And, you know, there's a lot of other states that are contacting Pennsylvania right now asking, hey, how did you guys set it up? How's it working for you? And I can say firsthand, you know, watching it, now it slows down the process a little bit, but, you know, given the times, it's not, if that's the only disadvantage to it, it worked really well. I can say that.
That's great. Now how was your travel coming back yesterday and going out before? Did it seem like the highways and the turnpike were less busy?
Yeah, I will say, I mean, just driving through Harrisburg, which you typically hit a lot of rush hour traffic in the morning or the evening, even traffic on the turnpike. The roads out there, it's noticeably less amount of people on the roads, which will kind of bring me to a point that I'd like to bring up is that right now, Pennsylvania is the only state in the union that has put construction and road construction on their forbidden business list. Actually, the Department of Homeland Security within the federal government has identified construction as life-sustaining. So to that point, I recently issued a letter to the governor asking that he would reconsider allowing construction to continue, whether that be road construction. You know, you are able to maintain social distancing while performing construction projects. It's out in the open air, and with less traffic right now, I think this is an opportune time for them to be doing road construction. On top of that, we've left home construction, commercial construction, just stopped it dead in its tracks. And in my opinion, in many cases, that's going to present a safety hazard. You have a lot of, you know, whether, for example, someone could have been putting a roof on their home, right? So the contractor comes in and they just put, you know, they just have plywood down on the roof. Okay, and then they got shut down. Well, there's no tar paper, there's no shingles, there's nothing to protect it. There's many different cases like that. So that being said, we are the only state, the only one that has not allowed construction to proceed. So I've humbly asked the governor to reconsider his position on that stance.
Well, it's interesting you say that too, because there has been a lot of there's been decisions made by the governor that have been changed because of feedback similar to that. The truck stops is a great example of that. You had an open letter, I believe, to the governor over the truck stop closure as well. You want to talk a little about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rick, I want to first say that it's very easy to armchair quarterback. I understand that the governor is under intense pressure. But at the same time, there are decisions that I don't agree with. So I don't want to openly criticize the governor with everything he's done. I'm sure that many of it was made with his best intent. I do think that the decisions were a little bit rushed, though. I think that given the gravity of them, that we needed to think through them and be a little bit more precise in the way that they were rolled out. An example of that was closing all truck stops. I was adamantly against that because we have to maintain our supply chain, right? I mean, that's one of the most important things during this crisis, that grocery stores are getting stocked, that medical supplies are getting pushed. And, you know, when you have people saying that they don't want truckers coming to you and saying, we don't even want to travel through Pennsylvania because we don't have any place to park because the state has closed down all truck stops. And a lot of these guys are mandated by federal law, and I don't know the exact hours off the top of my head, but they are mandated after so many hours, they have to pull over and rest. So then you're creating safety hazards for other travelers because these guys are trying to pull off on the side of the road wherever they can. So we did do a big push, kindly, again, asked the governor to reconsider his position on this. And, you know, one huge thing we did, we put it up on Facebook. We just simply said, Governor, please consider opening the truck stops for truckers. And, you know, the response to that was overwhelming, Rick. We got over 11,000 shares, I think. Wow. We were close to 12,000 shares. Almost 1.5 million people were reached on that post. So to think that even in a time of crisis like this, that the public input doesn't matter or that you don't have a say, that it's just wrong because you do. And then, a day and a half after that post went up, after 12,000 shares across this Commonwealth, after 1.5 million people saw it, the governor did change course and opened up most of the rest stops in Pennsylvania.
I think it's an encouraging sign as well. As you said, our voice does matter, and not just, usually we always say that at election time, right? But even right now, social media and just Facebook and things like this have given us a voice. And yeah, some people use that voice in a way that, maybe I cringe at a little bit when I'm on Facebook, but ultimately to see the governor change course like that, because really, if you think about it, so as a head of my family, right? I'm looking at what's best for my family, and I may make a decision in the heat of the moment that I haven't taken into consideration completely my daughter's perspective on things, because they see things at a different perspective and level that I do. So, when you kind of equate that to the state level, perhaps Governor Wolf made some decisions that were, like talking about the road work, back to that, to think about the fact that, yeah, their home construction even has stopped, and that could present a health hazard, where the intentions are right to prevent, a health hazard as far as the coronavirus. We're not thinking about the health hazard on the other side. And I think the public bringing that perspective and you being an advocate for that for the public is really, really valuable. And it's an encouraging sign too to see that our leaders are listening and they are working for us. And I can't thank you enough for that. You've been a huge support. One of the reasons I asked Representative Warner to come on today was because I saw him really as a voice of reason in a time right now that can feel very uncertain at times. So, but thank you for all that you do, when it comes to representing us in the Commonwealth.
Yeah, Rick, I appreciate that. And I just want to reiterate, I know that this is a great time of uncertainty. However, we still, as leaders, we must make confident decisions, right? And I think that, look, when this first started happening, there was a lot of fear and panic, and there still is to a certain extent. And that's why I've just tried to the best of my ability, I've tried to, in the statements and letters that I issued to the governor, were that, look, I understand that time is of the essence in many of these decisions, but in making rush decisions based on fear can cause more harm than good, right? And the decisions that we make and the decisions going forward, I think they need to be reassuring to the American public and the people in Pennsylvania. I think when we give somebody an announcement or what we're going to do, I think we need to make it clear to those people that this was well thought out, that, we're doing this for the best interest, not to make snap judgments on a dime because of what we're hearing. There's so much information out there right now, Rick. A lot of it true, a lot of it not true. People are hearing so much different stuff about how bad it's going to be, how it's not going to be bad. And the approach that I've tried to take is that, look, we need to approach this from the middle, because there are extremes in politics in general. There are extremes when it comes to this pandemic, right? It seems to me that there are people that want to sit back and say, hey, this is just the flu, we don't have to do anything. And then it seems to be there's the other extreme where it's like, hey, we need to shut down the entire country for the next 3 weeks. And I would lend to believe that we need to fall somewhere in the middle of that, right? So, every day we get briefings from the Department of Health, from Dr. Levine, and we have to take into mind what they're saying. And I think the governor should too. But at the same time, we have to remember that doctors don't have to consider any socioeconomic factors, right? We have to consider everything in our decisions. And, economists, they don't have to factor in any health implications or, the lives and deaths of people. So I think that we have to formulate everything. We can't send the entire country into a Great Depression. I mean, that has the possibility of having, worldwide, causing more damage than what the virus could itself. So I think we have to be extremely cautious in what we do in maintaining the health, maintaining CDC guidelines. But at the same time, I think we also have to be reasonable and consider what it takes for the country to run. And when trying to calm people, I don't want anyone to ever misinterpret that, Ryan, you're not taking this serious, because this is a very serious matter. It is, in fact, worse than the flu. But that being said, it's not going to end our society. It's not the zombie apocalypse. We're going to get through this. People need to keep a head on their shoulders. And I just want to reiterate again, from all the information that I have from top level health advisors, is that this is a virus that has the worst impact on the elderly. So one thing that I think that we failed as a state and country is to impress that knowledge on people, to say, if you are 65 or older and or have an underlying health decision, you should probably shelter in place. You should probably, to your best ability, and many people that age and older are retired. I know not all of them are, but many are retired and have the availability and means to stay inside. And of all people, those are the people that need to stay inside. That is what the greatest effect of this virus has on those people. In fact, the overwhelming majority of the people that are in critical condition or are hospitalized and die from this virus are 70 plus and have an underlying health condition. So we have to keep that in mind. That's not to say if you're healthy, just go run about your day and act like this doesn't happen. That's what I'm saying. There's an in-between. I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that a stronger focus be put on the elderly and those with underlying health conditions, that they do stay inside, that they do not interact with the public at all, to the best of their ability. It's a difficult time, but I just want to reassure everybody that we're going to pull through this. This country's been faced with so much worse. We've fought through independence. We fought through world wars. We fought through a civil war. We've been through other pandemics, and I just want everyone to know that we are going to get through this too.
It's definitely uncharted territory for us, for sure. And it's good to see, as a private citizen, it's good to see that our decision-making process is evolving as this evolves. At first, like I said, it was kind of, a little panic driven. And now that we are seeing this isn't, in fact, the zombie apocalypse, that this too shall pass as well. Not to minimize those that are sick or those that have passed on because of this, but at the same time, our decision making and our logic behind this is evolving as the days go on, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
We kind of touched on this a little bit, but I did want to ask you, excuse me, there's my phone I didn't silence during the interview. I wanted to ask you, and you covered this a little bit, but really from a I guess a practical perspective. So maybe we, for a minute, take off the state representative hat and we just say, as human beings, what have you seen from this crisis that you think you can learn from, or us in general that we can learn from? Obviously, hygiene is a big thing that's talked about, hand washing, stuff like that. But from your perspective, what have you seen? I mean, I look at this similar to 9/11, where life is not going to be the same after this. Of course, we will come through and our economy will thrive again, I believe, and this will pass. But at the same time, I think it's not without some changes to our lifestyles. What do you think about that?
Oh, very much agreed. Look, life is going to be different after this. I mean, for one, I would like to think that we're going to be much more prepared for another pandemic. You will see a lot of legislative changes to make sure of that. And again, I don't want to downplay what's happening. And it's unfortunate the amount of people that are and will get sick, and the amount of people that have died and will die because of this. But it's kind of made us realize that we might not be prepared as a nation and worldwide for a much more severe pandemic. I mean, a disease or a virus that would have a much higher death rate or a lot more contagious. So to that regard, I think that you will see a lot of changes going forward as far as being prepared. Again, like any other crisis that our country has faced, whether it was 9/11 or I look back at the flood in Connellsville. Um, Things like this often bring out the best in our society, even though sometimes it brings out the worst too. I've seen a lot of pretty disgusting and negative things over the last few weeks, but at the same time, I'm always uplifted by the way that people will step up and help out their fellow man. It's very encouraging. Rick, especially in our area, I've seen it time and time again. I think that we're blessed in our little corner here in Southwestern Pennsylvania. The way that people will help out for others is very encouraging. Again, I mentioned the flood. I like to tell people that, when you had state and federal departments here, one reoccurring statement that I received from them was that they've never seen a community pull together like they saw our community pull together during that time frame. And again, I'm very encouraged that if things were to take a larger turn to the worse, that we would still pull together in this area and help each other out. So I've seen a lot of that. It's uplifting to see other people help each other out.
Absolutely. Well said. And I agree. I agree with you 100%. I got one last question for you.
Yeah.
And this one may be, no, it's not the most important, but it's definitely important for sure. How's this affecting your fishing game, man?
Well, I am chairman of the Legislative Sportsman's Caucus, and believe it or not, I've received quite a few questions about fishing because the trout season opener is only a couple weeks away. So right now, I've not been able to make it out fishing at all, obviously. But I do want to pass along that the trout season at this point has not been affected. The Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission has consolidated the two opening days. So there used to be regional opening days. The eastern part of the state opened 2 weeks earlier than us. They consolidated those to one day. Also, many people would go out and help the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission stock trout. It was something that I did. I enjoyed doing it. You'd go out on the stream, you'd follow the stocking truck, and you'd help put some fish into the stream with them. We can't do that this year. The Fish and Boat Commission has closed that down to the public. So, guys, I just want to reiterate: if you're a sportsman and you're watching this, please don't go out to the stockings this year. I'm sorry. I know that you look forward to it. Believe me, I look forward to it. But we can't do it this year. To try to practice social distancing, the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission has determined that they're not going to have any public help this year. So, but that being said, the scheduled mentored first day of trout and the regular first day of trout are still scheduled as plans, and you can follow CDC guidelines because it is an outdoor activity. You don't necessarily have to be next to anybody or interact with anybody. We are still able to go out fishing. And in fact, I think I would encourage that if you need to get outside here in the month of April, if you feel stuck inside, grab your pole, you can go out fishing and still maintain a safe distance and practice social distancing from people.
Very good. Encouraging news to be able to, it's nice to think about life resuming as back to normal. So even a little glimmer of hope, I will hang on to that. So appreciate that very much. State Rep Warner, anything else you wanted to talk about today while we're together?
No, I just want to encourage everybody to the best of their ability, keep their chin up. I know they seem like dark times, but again, we are the United States of America. We have prevailed through everything that we have been faced with. We will prevail through this. I know at this time there's a lot of things that can be debated on whether something was done right or something was done wrong, or what we should do forward. And if you're on social media, you see people arguing and fighting, and we have to try to stop that. And after this is all over, we want to analyze and go through. Yes, we can express our opinion, but let's do it in a way we're not fighting with each other. Use that energy instead to help somebody out. That's what I can say, rather than fighting and bickering. Because we can get through this, and the best way to get through it is together and united. And I'm always reminded, especially at a time like this, of the words of President Kennedy, right? JFK said, "Let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democrat answer, but the right answer. And let us not seek to fix blame on the past, but rather take responsibility for our future." And I want everyone to take and heed those words, because at a time like this, I think that is the way that we should be living, and that's what we need to hear going forward.
State Rep Brownware, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us today. And the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel viewers definitely appreciate it, I'm sure, as well. We should do this again soon.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do it anytime. Rick, thank you guys so much. I want to thank Armstrong, everyone that tuned in. Thank you all. Take care and God bless.
Thank you.